Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Jessica and today is awesome because we are starting a whole new series on probably one of my favorite foods, ice cream. If you're new around here, we just wrapped up a series on hors d'oeuvres 101, and the reason I love creating content in a series is because it allows us to really deep dive into one topic related to food and learn lots of different things about it, as opposed to when we only make one recipe. You can't always learn everything you need to know. So this video is just the first one in a series on ice cream. I have a couple other videos on my channel all about ice cream if you want to start there. But this one's gonna be really fun because not only will you get to learn about different things related to ice cream, like terminology and how to make ice cream at home using various styles, but I'm gonna give you lots of good recipes that you're definitely gonna want to try out this summer. And make sure to click the subscribe button so you can follow along in this series. I'm also going to throw a fun Pinterest board that I just started in the description below, all about popular ice cream flavors. So if you need a little bit of inspiration or want to try to get started on making your own ice cream at home, definitely check out that board to follow along for some inspiration. Believe it or not, there's actually a lot of different types of ice cream, and that's exactly where we're going to start in this series, talking about different types. Now, this is by no means an all-inclusive list, so if there's ice cream that you know of that I don't mention in this video, please throw it down in the comments below so we can all learn a little bit more. So first up, we have our French-style custard-based ice cream. And this type of ice cream is known for the high percentage of egg yolks and cream. Because of all the fat in the eggs and the cream, it makes this type of ice cream super rich and super creamy. Now, according to the US guidelines, anything that is labeled as ice cream has to contain at least 10% milk fat and 20% milk solids. So just keep that in mind as we're talking through all the different types of ice cream. Custard bases are a great place to start because they offer a lot of different variety. You can add in anything you want, from chocolate to alcohol to nuts to fruit, to kind of spice things up and make your custard taste exactly how you want it. Because there are eggs in this, we do have to do a little cooking to make sure that the eggs are safe to eat. So when we're preparing our custard base, you have to heat up your milk and your cream and then temper the eggs in order to heat and cook them through. It does take a little bit of practice to get this right, but once you've done it a couple times, trust me, you'll have no problem and you'll easily master it. Another word of caution when making custard-based ice cream is that you have to allow your base to completely cool in the refrigerator. I usually like to do mine overnight in order to make sure that it's super cold when you're putting it in your ice cream machine. If it's not completely cool, you could have some trouble with the texture, which of course we don't want. We want that rich, silky smooth taste. So just make sure that you prepare for that time-wise before making this type of ice cream. Up next, we have Philadelphia style ice cream. And this type of ice cream doesn't require any eggs. It tends to be a good place to start for beginners who want to start making ice cream, but maybe the whole heating and tempering of the eggs makes you a little bit nervous. The different thing about Philadelphia style ice cream is that it's lighter in both appearance and taste than the normal custard-based ice cream. And that's because there aren't any eggs. I really like Philadelphia style ice cream for two different reasons. Either A, if I'm just trying to go for a lighter overall flavor, maybe like a fruit kind of ice cream where you have fruit as your mix-ins, Philadelphia base is nice because it's going to tend to be lighter than your other custard base. Or if you're going really extreme with your mix-ins and want to use heavy, rich foods like brownies or fudge, Philadelphia style ice cream can be kind of a nice contrast compared to those mix-ins. The one thing I should warn you about, especially if you ever want to create your own Philadelphia style recipe, is that you have to be a little bit weary of making sure that your ice cream is still rich, thick, and smooth. Usually that's what the eggs help with, is promoting that silkiness and smoothness within the ice cream. So when you have a Philadelphia style recipe, you have to make sure to add something in to make up for the missing eggs. Usually that can be done with stabilizers. I actually have a recipe that I'll link in the description below that you use cornstarch as a stabilizer, but you can also use xanthan gums or other forms of gums that you can find at the grocery store. Up next, we have frozen yogurt, and froyo just happens to be my guilty pleasure on a Friday night. Go there and somehow I walk out spending $10 on ice cream because of course they have to charge you by the weight. So As you may have guessed, frozen yogurt is actually made from yogurt as the base. Now, some people think that it's a little bit healthier, and that may or may not be true depending on the other ingredients that are added. Sometimes, in order to help froyo stay rich and smooth, they do add a little bit of milk or cream to help with that. Moving along, next up we have gelato, which is an Italian style ice cream, and it's made with a low milk fat content, usually around 4 to 9%. So no cream in this one, only milk. And despite not having the cream or the eggs, gelato is actually denser than a lot of American style ice creams. And that's due to the fact of how it's churned. There's less air incorporated in gelato than there is in other styles of ice cream. If you watched some of my earlier videos where we talked about different ice cream makers that you can buy to use at home, you might know that it's a little bit hard to get the perfect gelato in an at-home ice cream maker because it's really hard to control the airflow that your machine uses. So this is maybe a better type of ice cream to buy than to try to make at home, but nonetheless, if you want to try to make it at home, you definitely can, and just use milk instead of your cream, or find a recipe that you think is a good fit. And just know that when you churn it with your ice cream machine at home, it's not going to be the exact same as if you were to do it with an industrial machine. Up next on our list, we have sorbet. Now, technically, due to how the US guidelines define ice cream, sorbet wouldn't count. But I want to go ahead and include it in this list because we kind of learn why it's not an ice cream by talking through it. So sorbet only uses sugar, water, and either fruit, wine, or some sort of liqueur. There are even some sorbets that are made with herbs or vegetables, although usually the more savory sorbets are used either as a first course or as a palate refresher in between courses. If you're talking about a sweeter sorbet, those are the ones that are more often served as dessert. If you're creating your own sorbet recipe, you'll have to mess around with the ratios of water, sugar, and your fruit or whatever additive you choose in order to kind of play around with the sweetness and whatever kind of level of sweetness you prefer. I should warn you though that if you add too much sugar, it'll be syrupy and too liquidy, but if you add not enough sugar, it'll be hard and gritty. So just make sure to look at the ratios out there and kind of determine what amount of sugar should be a good place to start. And in addition to the core ingredients, sometimes pasteurized egg whites are added in during the churning process to help with the final texture. Moving along, next up we have sherbet, and this was a favorite of mine as a kid. Basically, it's an Americanized version of sorbet, but before you churn it, there's actually milk added in there. But that's pretty much the only difference. And last but not least, our final category is kind of a wrap-up of ice creams from around the world. Almost every country has their sort of unique take on ice cream. So while I'm not personally an expert on those, I wanted to encourage you all to do some research and see what kind of ice creams are out there, especially for when we can get back to traveling, so that way you can try some. Some that I want to highlight are rolled ice cream from Thailand or Malaysia, mochi from Japan. We also have dondurma from Turkey and kulfi from India. So if you are aware of any other types of ice cream, please throw them in the comments below because I'd love to learn more about them. And because I'm not an expert on them, I wanted to point you to some more authentic resources on these. So make sure to check those out in the description below. These look like amazing recipes and they give you a little bit more history about each of these types of ice cream. So I know I will definitely be trying some out this summer and I hope that you will too. So that wraps up today's video, all about different types of ice cream. I hope that kind of gives you a base to start our series on a good foot. If you're looking for more content on ice cream, I'm definitely going to recommend my Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey ice cream video. In that video, we talk all about what the best homemade ice cream maker is for you, as well as different glossary terms that you should know if you are an ice cream lover. So check that out next, and don't forget to hit subscribe so that way you can see all the videos in this series. I can't wait, and I will see you all in the next one.